Hello everyone, Mike Rempel from Another Set of Eyes with today's Excel Bytes blog post. Today we're going to take a look at an oldie but a goodie, and that's VLOOKUP, with a couple small twists that might be valuable to you. VLOOKUP is one of those functions in Excel that's sometimes very feared, but is one of the easiest to use once you just understand the basics about it, and is probably one of the most popular functions in Excel. Basically what VLOOKUP does, we'll just take a look at what Excel says here. VLOOKUP looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. So here's our example. We have a list of parts and their description and their inventory, and I want to find the location. This where I want to populate that might be thousands of lines long, and I just have a small table here that I want to use as my guide. So any place I see this model number in this location, I want to populate the location city of that part and where I could find it in inventory. So let's run through the process of a VLOOKUP. We do equals VLOOKUP, hit tab, and my lookup value, I want to look up B234, comma. My table array, I want to highlight the area that I'm going to use as my table for my lookup. I want to make sure I make those absolute cell references, so I hit my F4 key, comma. My column index. Column index is asking for what column of that table do I want to return as the result of my VLOOKUP. In this case, it's column 1, 2, and column 3. So I'll put a 3 there. And do I want an approximate match or an exact match? An exact match is what we want to use here because we want to make sure that this part number matches exactly with the model number in our table. Now when you have a true or an approximate match, whatever you're looking up, in this case the model, must be in ascending order, and we'll see that in our next example. But since we're looking for an exact match, these do not need to be in any specific order. So we're going to use false or an exact match, hit tab, close our formula, hit enter, and you can see I got New Orleans, BP234, BP234, location is New Orleans, return that perfectly. Just going to double click down there, and looks like it worked for almost everything, except we have a couple or 3 total that we had an error on. Now, let's see why that may have been. Here I have BP197, and BP197 is in my list. I should have gotten Austin. Down here I have BP197, and I did get Austin. Same thing here. 197, I got Austin. So looking at this, what's the difference or what's the problem? Well, what it turns out to be is you can see I have a space after the 197. That's not an exact match because it doesn't include spaces, where here in this BP197 there were no spaces. So in situations like this, you might want to consider incorporating the trim function in your VLOOKUP that will eliminate those kind of situations. Now let's take a look at trim. Equals trim. Trim removes all spaces from a text string except for a single space between words. So let's say we have space, 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 hello, bunch of spaces, and Dolly here. And if I got equals trim and I selected that, I'll get hello Dolly, no spaces in the front, only one space in between, no spaces at the end. So that's what the trim function does. It eliminates all spaces except for a single space between words. So why don't we take this and wrap our lookup value in the trim function, and that should take care of the space issue. I'll copy that down now. And absolutely, the 3 that I had errors for are now eliminated. One more thing you might want to consider in the VLOOKUP when you're using false or even when you're using true is instead of having to select a specific cell, like in this we have A2 and then you can see it just continues down A3, A4, etc. Instead, all we have to do is click on the A here and make it AA and hit enter. copy that down, and that makes it just a little simpler. You're just looking in column A for that match for here, and it works just as easy, and many people use this little trick so they don't have to select a specific cell. They just click on the column header, and it works just as well. Now let's take a look at another example using the true as our match. Here we have a scenario where we have 20 customers and points that they've earned in a contest we have, and we want to see if they were a gold, silver, or bronze awardee. And it's based on their points. So in fact, customer number 1 had 712. They exceeded the silver requirement but did not hit gold, so we should get a silver there. 829, and customer number 2, he would have achieved the gold. So we're going to use the true because there's not going to be, there might be, but there's most likely not going to be an exact match between the points and the points in our table. So that's why this must be in ascending order, because Excel will go vertically, again what the V stands for in VLOOKUP, will go vertically down the column, the leftmost column in our table, and look for the first spot that exceeds the points that we're looking for, and then drop back 1 and give us the results of that. So I'm going to enter our VLOOKUP. Our lookup value is, again, as our trick before, I can just click on that. Our table array is here, and we hit F4 to lock that. I want the column index 2 because I want the second column, the award, bronze, silver, or gold, to be the return there. So we'll use 2 there, hit comma, and we're going to go with a true in this case. Close that off, hit enter, and yes, we got a silver there. Copy it down, and again, it looks like we got a couple errors here. Now, the reason that is because 202 and 220 didn't even hit the minimum of the points required. So in those cases, you might want to consider wrapping your VLOOKUP formula in an if-error function. And we can do if-error, wrap that, and what happens if there's an error, we might just want to say no reward in that quotes, close that off, copy that down, and now in those 2 customers that did not quite hit our minimums, it indicates a no reward. Similar scenario here where we have students with grades, and you can see the grades vary from 69 to 95. Here's our table. 70 is a D, all the way up to 93 and above is an A. And again, this must be in ascending order. So we're going to do equals VLOOKUP. Our lookup value is in column J. Now see, there was a perfect example there. If I did VLOOKUP, hit a tab, I wouldn't be able to click on that just because of the proximity of that and the width of that column. So it makes it real easy just to click there and select JJ there for our column. Our table array, we know, is this. I want to make sure I lock that with my F4 key to make them absolute cell references. My column index is 2, and again I'm going to use a true for my approximate match. I hit tab, close that off, and I get an NA there. Copy it down, and again the reason I got an NA is because the score there was below the minimum. If it would have been a 70, it would have been a D, but for 69 I got an NA. So again, my option there could be wrap it in an if-error function, go to N, comma, and just put maybe failed. And that's the result I get if I have an error. Copy that down, and there you go. So that's the VLOOKUP function. Very simple. Again, the V standing for vertical, where it looks vertically down a list in your table array. The alternative of that is HLOOKUP when you have horizontal lists going, but same scenario, everything works virtually the same way as the VLOOKUP function. So there you go. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more, please feel free to go to my website, excel-bytes.com, and I hope you subscribe. Happy excelling.